Welcome, friends! Today we're playing Nancy Drew and the Case of the Stanley Parable. So Framp is able to watch. He will not be spoiled. No, we'll be playing the Stanley Parable, which I have played before quite a while ago. I got the achievement as I started the game up. Go outside, which you earn for not playing the game for 5 years. I got it legitimately. Isn't that fun? Everyone else is a cheater, except me. So real quick, I didn't want to like go and bug you about it and bring it up again, but I've watched that the Nancy Drew video that I had mentioned to you like 3 or 4 times now, and it is just hysterically funny. I don't know if you do reactions to videos on stream, but it actually would be hilarious, I think, to see your reaction to it. I think the title is Nancy Drew Explained. The channel is called Story Mode. It's Internet Historian, if you know him, doing it's a secret extra channel of his where he just takes video games and explains the story in like 20 minutes, and they're all very funny. I've been watching his like Resident Evil ones and Silent Hill and a bunch of them, but the Nancy Drew one is very funny. But today is not Nancy Drew. Today is Stanley Parable, and tomorrow is also Stanley Parable because the Ultra Deluxe Edition is coming out. Well, I imagine I'll talk about it more tomorrow too, but I'm somewhat skeptical as to whether, like, obviously it's gonna be, there's gonna be more stuff in it, but I don't know. I feel like this already did a pretty good job of being, you know, it feels thorough. It's done everything that it wanted to do.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
So it's been quite some time since I played this. I have watched a couple of people play it too.
He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. Although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Nice.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
So this is a great game.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Because the whole, you know, obviously the thing that's being explored is that of choice in video games, right? If you give a player control over what they can do in the game, whether you're talking narratively or anything else, then what happens if they resent the boundaries of that control?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I know this game may be better than I thought I did. But I thought I would play through it so that I have it fresh in my mind for when we play the deluxe, the ultra deluxe.
Not a single person
tomorrow.
here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Termination Tuesdays, but that's today. I'm sure that I did. I waited the whole 5 years. We won't do the Broom Closet just yet.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
There was one time that I watched someone on Twitch play this game. I tuned in, I think they had just started playing it. They went and I don't know where they went and what ending they got. I think they might have gone all the way to the point where it says escape and you go there and you get like the meta, or it might not even have been that. It might have been something else shorter. And then the second time through they went and got the correct ending, and they didn't get the game. Like they were like, "Oh, well, all right, that was kind of neat." Like they thought that they did something wrong the time that they went a different direction and got a different ending, and then they went through correctly and got the ending that I'm going for now, where you obey everything. And they were like, "Oh, well, okay," and then shut it off and went to play a different game.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Chianti. Fava beans.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Sure did.
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
I also played the original, like before this version even existed. I played back when it was just a Half-Life 2 mod. That was fun. I think that version only had 6 endings.
Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Most of them were the same ones that appear in here, or similar.
More free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
But I can escape. No escaping. No escape.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
The confusion ending is if I had to pick a favorite, I think confusion ending is my favorite. No, you can't be here. This is spoilers, Stanley. Look away.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Which one was 427? I guess I can't tell. It's one of them. Oh, there we go. 427. Deadhead. Okay, now switch back. Yep, that's my desk.
This mind control facility,
Fired.
It was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own
Employee
life
pirate.
in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Wow. Actually, that was loud. It's also interesting, like, this game does, like, just as much as the person that I just mentioned who got 2 endings and thought that because they got to here and like, it said you won, that they felt that that was the end of the game and that they were supposed to stop playing. Like, as equally, I mean, ignorance, not a nice word necessarily. I mean, as ignorant as that belief is, it's equally, I think, ignorant to think that the correct way to play the game is, like, to have somebody tell you, okay, go here, get this ending, hey, go get my favorite ending, oh, go in the broom closet, oh, but stay in the broom closet until, you know, now go here and do this, now go here and do that. It's like, well, all you're doing then is you're just being the narrator. Oh man, Doki Doki. What are some other games like? I mean, Nier Automata is a little bit like that.
It will be his, and that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps
the only thing worth knowing.
Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
De nande kono panapua. And that's, of course, the point where you lose control of the character. And at the same time, it's like 2 halves of the same coin. It's, oh, this is... the narrator is taking control away from you in order to make sure that you experience, you know, the ending of the story exactly the way he wants to. But in the other way of looking at it, it's the first time that Stanley is controlling himself instead of you, because, you know, I guess in one interpretation of the game, you are...
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
You are the mind control? Is that right? Right?
No matter
maybe?
how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Nier Automata is a little like that. You beat the game and it's like, oh, you got ending A. I mean, there's a couple of, like... Well, actually, there's several. There's several bad endings that you can... You know, bad ending. A couple of other not canon endings that you can get. But then, when you beat the game and get ending A, there, like, a message comes up... Ooh, rare. Blue hallway. A message comes up that's like... You're really not done with the game. Please reload and keep playing. And yeah, getting ending A is only like less than a third of the way through the game. What shall we do next? Next, let's go to the end and turn on the mind control device.
Not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, I died. Got the feeling the money's for stealing. Not yours, of course. It's a lovely purse. No mirror.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Oh, let's get the jazz.
Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk.
Oh wait, did I?
What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded
Oh, it was
the
2-8.
terrible
Oh well,
secret
we'll get it
that lay
next time.
buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing.
Amazing.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
What other games? I mean, I guess there's like 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Like you kind of get the feel like it's not possible to get the true ending your first time through, but you're supposed to get the idea that whatever ending you get, like there's more to the game. You're obviously supposed to reload it.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret
I don't think he streams anymore. Resorty used to every year for his stream anniversary, he would get the ending that takes 4 hours where you have to keep pushing the button to save the baby.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley,
I don't think I've ever read this. It's very difficult to read.
In this place where freedom meant nothing.
(2C) If, despite adherence to Protocol 2A and Protocol 2B, an employee leaves the office during work hours and a system loop has failed, you must terminate. 2D. Please note that employee 432 is a test case, while the need for Protocol 2A may seem unlikely. Procedure 2A to 2C need not apply. In the event of 432 attempting to leave the office, contact supervisor and then contact 432 prize pool. If a monitoring screen fails to initialize contact maintenance and temporarily switch control over to desk screen. 4A. In the case of a Class 4 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. 4B. In the case of a Class 3 event, close system gates and consult with supervisor. Prime your consoles for info dump. Good. That would be awkward starting with Zero Time Dilemma. Now, is this one where you can I tap the... Nope.
This mind control facility.
One of these you're supposed to be able to tap the button and then run back through the doors before they close.
Really been under someone's control all this
Maybe
time?
It's the elevator here.
Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He
couldn't get out
refused
there.
to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life
So I wonder what
utterly
kind of...
blind to the world?
What kinds of... Because if they've already explored...
The heart of the operation.
If they've already explored the
Controls
whole...
labeled with
I guess not
emotions,
all of it, but
happy
explored
or
enough
sad
of the
or
whole
content,
creator and
walking,
player
eating,
dynamic.
Working, all of it
saying,
monitored and commanded from this very place.
You know,
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink,
some of the things that they hint at here, where they say, "Hey, you know, the story exists as a junction of player and designer.
Once and for all.
Without a designer, there is no story.
Stanley, you didn't just
But without a
have to
player,
control,
there's also
did
no
you?
story.
After they
The
kept
story
you
is what
enslaved
happens
all these
as the
years,
player
you go and
plays
you try to take control of the machine
game.
for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it
Hey,
go.
Garrett.
Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story,
I'ma get it. I'ma get it this time.
Much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent. Stanley suddenly realized
It sure
he
does
had
hit pigs.
manipulated the
That's why we're playing this
emergency
today.
detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes.
Challenge
This
accepted.
Things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's
Meow.
your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now.
It's my
Shape it to
stream.
your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind.
That's 4 up
What a
there.
shame we have so little time left to enjoy it.
Let's hit this on the
Mere
way.
moments until the bomb goes off. But what
Blue
precious
3.
moments each one of them is. More
I'm gonna do
time
it.
to talk about you.
None of those.
Where we're going.
Not that one
What
either.
this means, I barely know where to
3
start.
attempts remaining. It's more than I'm gonna need.
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are?
Incorrect. This game's bugged.
Alright, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely
Beady
in
boop.
this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say,
Not if I can
this version of the
stop
case
it.
has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
Not time for a
I'm
power
sure
surge just
whatever
yet.
I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much.
Oh,
You know
that's
what? To
glitching
hell
out.
with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley.
Oh no!
It doesn't grow on
Oh, there it goes.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off?
Gee.
I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room.
Got 'em.
These numbered buttons. No, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button. Or this door. Everything, anything. Something here will save me. Why would you
Well, if
think
I
that,
enable the
Stanley?
failsafe,
That
that'll
this
save
video
me.
game can be beaten? One solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world.
Wonderful voice actor.
But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle.
Wow.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately?
The Batman. Enjoy.
Go peacefully. Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable.
Who would have thought that nuclear annihilation would be so
until the
loud?
moment I say happily ever up.
Nice.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Beep. So it's a lot of fun. That one, obviously, I mean, it's almost like I don't need to explain what the game is doing, because it is kind of obvious, you know, the way that is sort of a twist for him to say, you know, it's like one thing that a player would do is go, no, I'm going to take the path that the game is telling me not to take, and that's not really wrestling control. I mean, right? That's the whole conceit of the game, is that when you take a path in a game, unless you're breaking it,
Stanley stood for a long time in one spot. It's part of the game. He likes to see how long he can go without dying.
He's never going to beat me.
He's doing excellent.
Very good at that game.
And if he just stays right where he is, I'm sure he'll keep up that good momentum. Let's observe the genius at work.
You know, unless you're breaking the game, unless you're glitching it, you're always taking a path that was designed for you. And
when Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
I mean, I guess I can't explain it any better than the game does. It's very... Let's get
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
I mean, even this is great.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
The idea, of course, that if he... My first ending.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom
No,
closet.
because I
No
mean...
reason to still be here.
I played the original Half-Life 2 mod before I played this version.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why?
Why?
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Did I start off by just defying him as much as possible?
You
Maybe.
do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever.
And this is of course...
I never would have thought to mention it.
The opposite is true. Because he's talking, there is content in here. If he didn't say anything, then it wouldn't be.
Its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friend finds concern. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
The Broom
Well, I've
Closet
come to a
ending
very
is my
definite
favorite.
conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to
Turn my speakers up.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Ah, player 2.
Second player.
Second
Good
player.
to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Yeah. See, now that he doesn't react, now there's no more content.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Boop, 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 boop.
The moment...
Oh! You think? Game wouldn't be half as good without the Broom Closet. I definitely appreciate the, you know, I'll get to them later, but the inclusion of the Portal and Minecraft segments. The original had, it was actually a Half-Life 2 map that they fired up, one of the beginning maps of Half-Life 2. So this is the ending where you glitch out. Not glitch out, but something which appears to be unintended happens. You are now leaving. Why can't I take the elevator? Because it's an emergency. Probably. Who's Dan Olson did a pretty good video essay where he talks about this game and Dark Souls as well, and about, you know, narrative choice in video games and playing around with it. Escape pod launch bay. Entering this escape pod will initiate a relay, something that once triggered cannot be disabled or paused. The something must be... Oh, narrator? The narrator must be present in order something. Escape pod, something, do not. But the narrator's not present, so it's not gonna work. Better than Dark Souls? I'm not sure that they're comparable. Not sure you could really compare one to the other.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Boop, 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 boop. The way in which he was comparing it to Dark Souls was to say that in Dark Souls you could do things like kill NPCs, right? There are some NPCs that you're quote-unquote not supposed to fight and kill. but you're allowed to. Like, the game
Yet there
doesn't
was not a
break
single
if you
person
do it.
there either.
So,
Feeling a wave of
that in the same way as the
Stanley
Stanley Parable, that
decided to
means
go
that it
up to his
is
boss's office, hoping he might find an
part
answer
of the
there.
game's content to do that. And that, you know... I don't know, he says it better than I do. Going in.
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room.
But even
Please
something that
take
appears
your
to
time.
punish you, as long as it's calling attention to what you're doing, it is part of the game. And is part of... Because it's part of the game, and because it was created and put into the game, it is something that the creators quote-unquote want you to do. Like, want is maybe a difficult...
Walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, I didn't. I mean, I did. Stanley, he did not. He came down here.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking
Clocks have hands.
mysteriously
Must
out
be
of
crazy.
existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
Definitely had a number of times that I've woken up and realized that what I was dreaming about was a dream and been incredibly relieved.
While I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice
Way too much.
describing
Way
me,
too much for a cold
thinking
drink.
about how
Unless there's a mini
describing
soda
my
in there.
thoughts, he thought.
Mini sodas, those are
And
worth
when
about
he thought it
25.
all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt,
He
that
know
this
for
was, in fact,
certain?
a dream. Did
Literally
the voice not see him
unplayable.
float to make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world outside.
Wait, is this a bug? My eyes are supposed to be closed all the way, aren't
He
they?
thought to himself, I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my
can't move
life
anymore.
exactly the way it's always been.
I can't move and my eyes
My
are not
life
closed.
is normal, I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Mountains.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
He needs some milk.
He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what
Crazy people look like.
And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
I walk around saying that to myself all the time.
And in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What is this, La Mulana? Stanley doesn't have a whip. You're thinking of Indiana Jones.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
Boop, 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 boop.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Oh yeah, we need to do the escape.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
This joke was very funny the first time I heard it.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Or did I?
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
I play video games. It's never stopped me.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Sometimes you gotta fly into the sun.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Don't do it!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Button sounds. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Ba-da-ba-doop. Yeah, I was just thinking that as I was coming in. I'm like, if the very first thing that you did was obey, 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 and then went down the escape tunnel, which I guess probably a lot of people do. No, they would have to disobey before that. Although it is very funny that seeing this first, you would think that you were spoiling yourself on things like, what do they describe over here? There's the boss's office. That is the employee lounge, and that is underground. No, where's the thing where they talk about they talk about endings that don't exist? Somewhere. That one exists. Countdown desks. Freedom ending. I mean, they might. That would kind of be the most boring thing that they could, you know. I hope we'll see things that are very unexpected. For a long time we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this is what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everyone. Zending, this one. Oh, well, it's an early version of Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. Which, yeah, this doesn't look like anything. Zending model. Zending levers. Boop. I think the trailers are supposed to play. There it goes. Another thing that's really fun is the demo. The demo for this game is not. It has content. It's entirely content that is not found in the main game. And if you watch the Game Grumps version of it, oh, what was this? Oh yeah. Cargo lift. I guess that does kind of spoil the fact that you can fall to your death, that's an option. The office. Oh man, yeah, remember that? Remember when Steam, you had to actually like make a good game and get it greenlit in order for it to be on Steam instead of just, yeah, it's just, the whole thing is like 1,000,000,000% trash. An ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. People interpreted it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. That bicycle is in the demo. You infuse it with the soul of your great uncle Hermaphrodites. Use it to detect capybaras. Oh. No, use it to detect mineral deposits. Sounds right. Where is the exit? Now that I think I've seen about everything. Ah. Stanley's office. Very nice. William, the level designer, sent Davy, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. Indeed. The other game that he's done.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish
Davy
to
Reedon.
destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see?
His other game,
Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things.
Why can't I think of the name? This is absurd.
But listen to me. You can still see
The beginner's game.
You can stop
That kind of scared me. I'm like, why can't I remember the name of it?
Escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
No.
You do choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Blech.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
The left, you say?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
And drinking Mountain Dew. And what?
Yes, really, really worth it being here.
So I guess I'm almost done with it.
So
This
captivating.
Mountain Dew
Even though
Flaming
all
Hot,
your
which basically
coworkers
just
have
means
mysteriously
cinnamon.
Vanished, here you sit
I
looking
think.
at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
And it's fine. It's fine, except that if I let it
At this point, Stanley's
aerate
obsession
at all.
with his room
Like,
bordered on creepy
if I
and
drink it
reflected
and
poorly on
don't
his
swallow it
overall
immediately, or if I don't know,
It's
drink it the
possible
wrong
that
way,
this is
it
why
immediately
everyone
makes me
left.
start coughing.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Very well.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Straight ahead, you say? I do wonder tomorrow, like, if I should put on
and get even further off track. So now, in order to get back, he needed to go
follower only mode or something, like something to prevent people from just coming in and going like,
left.
Go this way, do this. Hey, there's a funny ending if you do this.
Oh no, it's to the right. My mistake. No,
because I hate that so much.
Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? No,
or even people saying, like, the phrase, here we go, for somebody to be like, here we go.
Yep. Okay,
like,
okay, yes, I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Definitely this way.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding?
Who am I
It's all
kidding?
rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
I mean, there's trolls, but there's also people who mean well, but like I said, like their idea of the correct way to play the game. It's like I said, it's very ironic considering that the game is like screaming this message at you that like there is no right way. The whole point, the whole thing that you do in the game is disobey the narrator, and that there are people who would go into a stream and go, I know, I'll tell the streamer how to get all of the endings that they should get. It's like...
When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over completely.
Yeah,
fresh.
I already got that for sure. Down in the description.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move
this is definitely the best ending.
Well, I'm asking you. I'm the one who wrote the
like
story.
the absolute
Right here
confusion
just a minute
that somebody
ago.
would get
I know for
upon
sure
like
that
coming
it's
in
here
here the first
somewhere.
time when he says like, did you mess something up when we were in that room with the monitors?
Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Inner guilt. Everyone knows what you did. They're just holding back to let you torture yourself. There is also, although there's no need to use it this stream, there is a feature that I have in my channel where if you type !hide, other people can see what you said, and I cannot.
I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Boop.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yep. Whatever was just said, I can't see it.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some
Debatable.
people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
So, what was it? Just a couple days ago, I was watching. It might have been Josh Strife Hayes had a video where he was talking about MMOs. He was talking about some Worm Online, I think, and it's a very, very hard to get into sandbox open world MMO where it's like you can go anywhere, you can chop down trees, you can dig and, you know, make pits, make mountains, build a house. Like, the list of things you can do goes on and on and on and on, but it's not a very good game because, I mean, in his opinion, because it is missing what he called an adventure line. And I guess that was before this game existed, that is a phrase that's used within gaming to say, like, whether it's mandatory or optional, whether it's, you know, a game where the adventure line is the whole point of the game or just some optional thing you can do, that it's important for games to have some form of adventure line where if people want to, they can follow this series of things to do. Even if it is a game where you can branch out and do anything, to have a set of goals laid before you so that you're not just floundering with no idea of whether what you're doing is the correct thing to do or not, or whether it will give you a good play experience. And so it's supposed to be funny that here they're like, here is a literal line, a literal adventure line.
I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line.
Or maybe this
Just
coined
follow
it.
the line.
Could be.
How simple is that?
Maybe this coined it, and then people started using the phrase
You see,
adventure
the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction.
Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story?
Sure.
Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself?
Yeah. He gave the example of Minecraft having the Ender Dragon, where it's like, you don't have to play Minecraft to kill the Ender Dragon, but it provides you with a thing. I thought it was later that he did this. Rather loud music. Let's get the music off. Da, 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 da. Is it because I explicitly have music? I don't know. Does this count as music? It does. Okay. I don't need it to be that low. Oh. No, whatever. Whatever, I follow the line and the music stops. I do it, I do it. I do it 100 times.
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
What if I don't? What if I don't go back? No, I'll go back.
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
But yeah, that even
Wait,
something like
Back at the
Minecraft
office? No.
benefits
You
from...
do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
benefits from having a
Oh, no, not again.
a way that you can say, hey, player, if you're looking for something to do other than just move blocks around, this is something you can progress towards, and it'll be like playing a game. A red sail. Oh, hi.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
I'll play your game, you rogue.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go
Why is there all of
Use your
this...
imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley.
all of this
I'm
exclamation point
ready for it.
hide going on when there's clearly not a game being played that I am blind to.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Just don't acknowledge it, TM.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds...
So Red Sail, the reason we're playing this today is that the Deluxe, Ultra Deluxe, Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe comes out tomorrow. I don't know what time. Didn't that happen before? There was some game that I was going to play on release, and I went to stream it, and it was like...
Come, Stanley.
It still wasn't available, and I'm like... Well, what time today does it become available?
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game eight times?
8 times?
That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing.
Wall.
Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game.
And it's fine. Again, it's, you know, the little things that this is touching on, you know, the idea of somebody going, oh, I thought that I was going off track, and, you know, is it disappointing to find out that, oh, no, this is intended.
How would we even know?
By the way, there is a jump scare in a moment. There is a loud noise as it restarts for anybody who doesn't know and doesn't want to be startled. It's in like 5 seconds.
I guess now we just wait.
I think.
You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree?
5 seconds from now.
I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey.
Right after the sentence.
They're always saying that life
Nope.
is about the journey
Almost.
and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now.
Oh. See, I'm pretty sure I've seen every Easter egg. There it was.